Have you had a conversation about LSU lately? Have you made statements about LSU lately? Let's remove LSU fans and supporters and let's just let them watch us talk amongst ourselves. I've noticed there exists no common ground, apparently, anymore when it comes to LSU. I'm asking you, where is the middle ground? I'm alone here. I feel utterly and totally alone. It's just like an island, and any kind of rationale, any kind of common sense and logic-based conclusions that you've arrived at with LSU is met with either you better think they're dropping to 8-4 or they're going to win a national title again. There's no middle ground. So the popular sentiment, and it's growing by the day, that I've noticed is LSU is falling off big time this year. Like LSU is going to fall way back to earth. And if I give any kind of pushback on that, the automatic follow-up is, oh, so I guess you think they're going to recreate what they did last year? You think they're going to lose all those players and just do that all over again? I don't remember saying that. I hadn't heard anyone say that. I haven't even heard most of my LSU brethren say that. It's just that I don't quite think they're falling to 8-4. I don't think that they're all of a sudden fighting to get into the Music City Bowl. So I think probably the reality is somewhere between the two, and they're still going to be a really good program. I still think they're ultra talented. I think Miles Brennan probably is a solid quarterback, and I don't believe, in fact, let me definitively state, I know they're not going back philosophically to what they were offensively. They're not going to duplicate the numbers they just put up last year. Let me spoil the ending for you. Nobody is. Not LSU, not Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. Nobody is. They could do 60% of what they did last year and have a phenomenal season this year and challenge for the SEC West. All these things can be true. So I'm on the middle ground, at least I think I am right here. And let's talk about this because I'm not just talking about 2020. Some folks are just talking about 2020. I mean, they're going to have a tough time this year. But at the same time, no one's going to feel sorry for them. But I look at their roster and I'm saying, all due respect to Tulsa, it's not like we've dropped Tulsa into Baton Rouge and said, all right, have at it. Good luck making a bowl. Same head coaches there. You're going to argue, well, you lose a Heisman quarterback. Certainly you do. Well, a lot of guys have gone off to the draft. Yes, they have. Well, you lost some coaches. Sure did. As far as I can tell, they have that in common with pretty much every other championship team in recent history in college football. You don't always lose the quarterback, but the bottom line is you hardly ever bring the same team back. They have had a more radical transitioning period, I'll grant you that, but it doesn't mean they're falling off a cliff. So I want to address the crowd that thinks 2019 was just a standalone product. And it was a great story, and maybe you even pulled for LSU, but all the while, as soon as the confetti was done falling, where were we? In New Orleans. As soon as it was done, and as soon as we stalked Ed Orgeron and we shot this video of him walking off the field in New Orleans and up the tunnel, as soon as that was over, so too were the chances for LSU to ever challenge for the SEC or national championship again. And I don't believe that. So I just want to know, what does regress back to form mean? What does return to form mean? Because they felt like a 9.5 win caliber program per year before this happened, even with that offense that was nothing to write home about. When I say caliber team, I'm not talking about your actual record. I'm talking about if you play an average college football schedule 100 times with any given team, what is their average result? And I feel like they were operating at about a 9.5, 9.75 win caliber as a program even before last year happened. So, with all due respect, returning to what they were wouldn't be half bad. I think they're going to be a tick up from what they were. I think their resting point is going to be a tick up from what they were. So I'm going to tell you what changed for last year's team. And I want you to think in your own mind. If you disagree with me here, many of you do, which I'm fine with, and I've gone back and forth with some of you, not all of you though. So if we haven't talked already and you disagree with me, I'm going to tell you what happened last year. You tell me which of these metrics, which of these boxes they checked last year they're not going to be able to check anymore. Number one, there was an administrative overhaul. Scott Woodward came in. There was a complete change in the direction and the vision of the program. You could argue how much impact this had on them last year because it was still pretty fresh. I don't think you can argue from talking to people close to the program about the impact it's having now and moving forward. Scott Woodward's not going anywhere. The changes they've made in their athletic department, they're not going anywhere. It's important. It's important budgetarily. It's important for getting facilities signed off on. It's important for getting staff enhancements signed off on. That's a fancy word for adding more bodies that we didn't previously have on our payroll. But also a lot of other departments, like those graphics that you saw last year, that didn't used to come out of LSU. So there are a lot of things administratively they changed last year. I don't think that's going anywhere. I think there was a new implementation of program culture last year. That was obvious. I don't think it was a one-year thing. Now, this is where it's going to be a remains to be seen sort of deal. I guess if you disagree with me, I don't have any evidence of this that doesn't already exist that I could bring to you, but I feel very convicted in saying it, and I don't think we'll have to watch too long this fall to see whether that's true or not. The commitment to a new offensive vision and a new offensive philosophy, absent of who's at quarterback, absent of which receivers you have or offensive linemen you have any given year, even absent of which guys outside of Steve Ensminger we have in the offensive coach's box any given year. That's not philosophy. Those are people. Is the philosophy which is ultimately handed down, the vision of the program's handed down by the head man, who's still there just as he was last year at Orgeron. Are they still bought into the same offensive philosophy? I think they are. I don't think they're ever returning. I think he would retire and hurl himself in front of a freight train before he allowed that program to return to a philosophical standpoint that they were previously offensively. So I don't think that's changing. And I also look around and I don't think they're going to hurt for talent. I don't think they're going to hurt, and this is important, for recruiting the quarterback position anymore. Let's again make this year independent of what we're talking about long term. You may believe in Myles Brennan, you may not believe in Myles Brennan, but even if you don't fully believe in Myles Brennan and he's no better than an 8-4 caliber quarterback, of course I think you're wrong, but even if you don't think that Myles Brennan can get the job done, look around. They just brought Garrett Nussmeier in. Well, he's verbally committed, but they are in it and are going to be in it. I hate to break this news to you guys, but they're going to be in it for the foreseeable future for not only big-time prep quarterbacks, but also big-time potential transfer quarterbacks. It should tell you a lot that they didn't go more aggressively after JT Daniels as it relates to what they think about what they've currently got going on right now. But if it presents itself and if it looks like they need to go the transfer route, it wouldn't have been viable previously. Because previously, Ed Orgeron calls up a kid who is looking to transfer and says, I want you to come to LSU. And he gets laughed at, probably not to his face, but he gets laughed at because a kid looks at LSU and says, well, that's a death sentence. Like, I want to play on Sundays. You guys have been horrible at developing quarterback and skill talent for Sunday ball. Well, guess what they saw now? They saw now that there's a total change in the culture, a total overturn on offensive philosophy, and you don't need many more reasons. LSU sells itself. You just needed an offense that also sold itself. You've got that. So they're, I don't think, going to hurt for quarterback talent. They are not going back to Miles Ball. I'm just telling you, they're not going back to that. That man, Ed Orgeron, will retire before he allows that to happen. So if you disagree, and I know a number of you do, that's why the comment sections are open. That's why my Twitter DMs are open. I want you to give me logic-based reasons why this program is not going to be able to perennially contend for a college football playoff spot. Because to be clear, that's what I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be, for the foreseeable future, a perennial contender for a college football playoff spot. I don't think that losing guys to the draft is going to cut their legs out from under them. I don't think losing assistant coaches is going to cut their legs out from under them. I don't think everyone focusing their attention on them is going to necessarily cut their legs out from under them. They have that in common, again, with every team that's ever won a championship. To some degree, every team's dealt with that. They're going to deal with internal issues. They're going to deal with drama, some you hear about, some you never hear about. They're going to deal with guys going to the draft, guys transferring, injury. They're going to deal with all that stuff. I think the foundation that that program's built on now is a lot more sustainable for the foreseeable future than the foundation that it was previously built on. That's where I stand on LSU Doubters.